Less than a year ago, I had no idea if I would even get into medical school, but here I am in the 4th week of my 2nd semester on a typical Monday morning. I grew up in Minnesota, and I clearly remember how miserable it was on those winter mornings, climbing into a cold car and then driving to school at the crack of dawn, only to get out and walk just as it got warm. 15 years later, I've learned that miserable mornings are a timeless experience. Today's Monday, which means I only have to be on campus for half the day. Medical school's a lot like college in format. Each day is a different amalgam of classes, usually with some being heavier and some being lighter. This really depends on your school and how they have their curriculum set up. Some schools use a block-based curriculum in which only one class is covered at a time, probably named after how it looks in your calendar. Other schools will use a systems-based curriculum where you take multiple classes at a time that all focus on a bodily system, like respiratory or circulatory. My school uses the traditional curriculum, so I take multiple classes at a time, none of which focus on the same thing. Traditional is a nice little name for it. It makes it sound like there's some long-lost reasoning why we do it this way. Today I have an anatomy lecture followed by cadaver lab. Unfortunately, I can't show anything related to lab because I definitely get expelled, and I think it might also be illegal. It's not all that pleasant or interesting anyway. Most days I only have to stay on campus for the morning, and today is one of those days. Back to the hospital to pick up the little lady from work, and I have a meeting tonight, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of back and forth today. I'd like to extend my sincerest apologies to Planet Earth for all the driving I'm gonna do today. One of the big downsides of anatomy lab is whenever you spend a lot of time in there and your face is up close to the cadaver and you're breathing in all the fumes, you kind of get the formaldehyde smell stuck in your nose and it just stays in there, and it's unappetizing. Maybe I'll just go and blow my nose a ton or something. For me, it's been really important to eat a big lunch so I can focus in the afternoon. Usually this means forcing down as many fruits and vegetables as I can stand and then eating an unreasonable amount of hummus and tortilla chips. This is probably the healthiest lunch I've had in like 2 weeks. Classes go through a ton of material very quickly, which means med students have to figure out a way to cram all that info into their heads as efficiently as possible so they don't fall behind, not to mention making time for little hand-drawn animations. Many students choose to type out their notes and just slap down whatever the professor says next to a copy of all the PowerPoint slides. Other students opt for handwriting their notes, although this is hard because you'd have to be pretty quick to sketch out figures and whatnot and still keep up. But these days, most of medicine is learned by flashcards, specifically Anki. Anki is a program that lets you make flashcards and then uses spaced repetition to help you learn them. It's as easy as this. When your professor's lecturing, open up the PowerPoint slides next to Anki, and then press Windows-Shift-S, or Command-Alt-4 if you have a Mac, and take little screenshots of the slide. Then, paste it into your Anki card with whatever text you want, click Add, and repeat. Now, all you have to do after lecture is fire up Anki and smack the spacebar for an hour or two, and look at that! You just learned medicine. was a little more brutal than I thought it was going to be. That was a delightful surprise to have today. I don't know why, but I'm super tired today. Have about 2 hours and 20 minutes until I have to go pick up the little lady. We'll see how far we get, see how many cards we can get done. But first... And now, sadly, it's time to get work done. So I'm done with 2 of my classes, and I have like 150 cards or something for anatomy, and I don't really want to start that right now because I only have about 25 minutes till I need to go pick up my wife, so I think we're just gonna take a break. So, Double L got out of work a little bit late, which, you know, sometimes happens in the hospital. Don't really have much time to study, and I'll probably just spend the amount of time I have getting in the zone and trying to, you know, get oriented before I just have to go. So, just gonna kill some time now. Na 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 da 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 da. Oh boy, I'm so glad to be driving for the 5th time today. A lot like undergrad, medical school is completely saturated with clubs, groups, and organizations. Everyone's looking to add things to their residency application, usually things like research, volunteering, and leadership. For most people, leadership means taking on responsibilities for a student organization and constantly fielding emails and attending unproductive meetings. Unfortunately, most people includes me. Like eating healthy, exercise is an important part of staying well that I also hate. I honestly don't know how I'd muster up the motivation to ever go to the gym without sucking down a sketchy blend of caffeine and B vitamins. When I was applying to medical school, I was so incredibly excited. I couldn't wait to learn doctory stuff, how to diagnose diseases, what medications do, you know, how to be a doctor. But so far, medical school hasn't been like that. Learning the ins and outs of biochemical and physiological processes generally sucks. When I was in college, I thought of it as just being an in-between time. Like I felt I was just putting in the hours so I could finally reach my goal of going to medical school. But now I'm here and it feels exactly the same. That's when I realized I'm always going to be waiting for the next thing. It hasn't even been a whole year, so I'm no expert, but medical school's hard and it's not fun very much of the time, but I think the satisfaction in medical school comes from realizing that all the little things you do, even when they suck, are building you into the doctor you want to be. But I think the most important thing I've learned in my 6 months of medical school is you have to know who you are outside of school. There are more important things.